And now we're going over to John Dixon for the address to the haggis. I hope.
Fair fa your honest sonsy face, great chieftain with the pudding race. Aboon them a you'll take your place, Penge, tripe or therm, and will ye worthy o' grace, as lang's my arm. The groaning trencher there ye fill, your hurdies like a distant hill. Your pin would help to mend a mill in times of need, and through your pores the dews distill, like amber bead. His knife, Sir rustic labour dicht, and cut ye up with ready slicht, trenching, gushing entrails bricht, like ony ditch. And then, oh, what a glorious sight, warm, reeking, rich. Then horn for horn they stretch and stride, dealt up the hindmost as they ride, till all their wheel swalt kites belive are bent like drums, and the all good man maist like to rive, bethank it hums. Is that their Irish French ragout, or olio that would stow a sou, or fricassee that would make ye spew, with perfect scunner? Look down with sneer and scornful view on sick a dinner. Fair devil standing Irish trash, as feckless as a withered rash, his spinel shanks a good whiplash, his knee a net, through bloody floods and fields to dash, oh how unfit. But mark the rustic haggis fed, the trembling earth resounds his tread, place in his wally knee a blade, and he'll make it whistle, with arms and legs and heads will snag, like tapsy thistle. Ye powers that mark mankind your care, and dish them out their billy fare. All Scotland wants nae skinking ware that jipes in luggies. If ye wish your grateful prayer, gie her a haggis.
Hey.
To the haggis.
Oh, well done.
A haggis.
A haggis.
Right, thanks, John. Spot on. Actually, it's amazing everybody got here tonight, considering the weather that some folk are ploughing their way through. There's John's made it all the way for Tarves. Now, the next person that's going to perform is Doug Hay, and that's your actual Ora Loon. Now, Doug could have walked here tonight because Doug's fairly local. He lives in White Hills, which is not quite as far as Tarves. But Doug's the guy that normally, as you saw earlier when he walked about with the haggis, he normally knocks up an absolutely fantastic meal for everybody at this night. But with things being different, we're not doing that. And Doug's one of the people who started performing a bit later in life than some, and then discovered he's really very good at it. And he won a bit. In fact, he was so good that he won a Bothy Ballad competition in Keith a couple of years ago. And then he was invited to the Great Elgin Bothy Ballad Champions Cup competition. And if I remember right, he did very well. I think he was actually, didn't he win it, but he was runner-up. Am I right in that?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's it. So very good for Doug. And that all qualifies him very well for giving us a song tonight. So it's over to the Ora Loon, Doug Hay.
Now, Abdi, that's me. I've got the waistcoat on and a fine fancy sock. I've got my pajamas underneath. Nobody can see for them wearing down below. So there we go. But anyway, this is one of the great Bothy ballads, Drumdelgie. I think I did it once at the Bothy a while back, but I hadn't really performed it much. But I've been practicing a while, so here's going anyway. So this is Drumdelgie. There's a firm tune up in Kearney, aye, it's kent baith far and wide. To be cad the hash a drumdelgie upon sweet Devon side. The farmer o' yon muckle tune, he is baith hard and sair, and the callous wind that ever blaws, his servants get their share. Now it's 5 o'clock, we quickly rise and hurry down the stair. It's there to corn where horses and likewise struck in their hair. If they're half an hour in the stable, aye, each day the kitchen goes to get started to our breakfast, which is generally brose. Now we've scarcely gotten our brose, we'll sup and gin our pints at aye. When the greavy roars come awa new lads, the time is drawing nigh. It's 6 o'clock, the mull's put on to gie us a stracht work. It took 6 of his to mak to her, till he could ring our sark. Aye, and fin the water is put off, we're back on down the stair. To put some quarters through the fan, till daylight disappear. When daylight is begin to peep and the sky begins to clear. The grieve roars out, come on, new loons, you'll be nae longer here. There's socks a yielding to the pleugh, and four to ca the neeps. Or the owls and loons will be after with stray rips round their queets. Aye, and fin that we were gone forth and turning out the yoke. Well, the snod hung on so very thick that we was like to choke. The frost it was so very hard, the pleugh she wouldn't go. And say we fold our muck carts among the frost and snow. New Drumdelgie's horse are young and sma', the shafts they barely fall, and the files they need yon sailors' chains to help them up the hill. But we will sing our horses' praise, though they be young and sma', for they're far afore yon broadland Danes that gang sae full and bra. New Drumdelgie has a Sunday squeal, he says it is but recht to teach the young and the ignorant to see the gospel licht. Ye darna swear about the tune, it is against the law. And if you use profanities, then you'll be put in a wall. Now the term time is coming round, and we will get our brass, and we'll head awa into Huntly Fair to hae a pert and glass. I will gang into Huntly town, and gang upon the spree, and sign the fun it will commence, the Queenie's fin we see. So it's fair you will Drumdelgie, for I'm in gang awa. It's fair you will Drumdelgie, you're weety wither and all. It's fair you will Drumdelgie, I will bid ye adieu. And I'll leave ye as a fun ye, a most uncivil crew. Drumdelgie. There we go.
Right. Well done.
Thanks, Dougie.
Yeah, well done. Thank you. We'll just
Great stuff.
Good song.
That's the kind of voice that can win competitions. Great stuff. Now, we're going to have a song from Anne and I, mainly Anne, really. But it's a Burn song, I Walk and O. And I'll let Anne just say what she's got to say about it. We've been arguing about the words of this song, so I hope we sing the same words when we have to do a bit together.
I had a wee bit of sticky paper on there for you to get the right words. There it is.
That was the introduction I was playing there. You ready?
Aye, but that's the right words.
Right.
I I can get nane for thinking o' my dearie. I walking on. Summer's a pleasant time, blues o' every colour, the water runs o'er the hugh, and I long for my true lover. I walking on, walking still and weary, sleep I can get nane for thinking o' my dearie. I walking on. When I sleep I dream, when I walk I'm eerie, sleep I can get nane for thinking o' my dearie. I walking on, walking still and weary, sleep I can get nane for thinking o' my dearie. I walking on, lonely night comes on, all the labour sleeping. I think on my true love, and I blear my own way greeting. I walking on, walking still and weary, sleep I can get nane for thinking o' my dearie. I walking on, walking still and weary, sleep I can get nane for thinking o' my dearie. There. And you didn't pay attention.
What was that? Sorry.
You
I'm
didn't
getting-
pay attention to the wee
No, I
sticky bit.
sung the wrong words. You know, so I'm a bad boy. Okay,
At last
thanks,
he's admitted
folks.
it.
And now we're on to Mr. Freer. Well, I'll do the introductions of people in this first bit, and then we don't need to bother later. I mean, what can you say about Titch? Well, he's done a wonderful job ploughing all the way here from Milnathort tonight. I mean, he's probably come as far as anybody. In the past, others have explained Titch as a small guy with a big voice and a sharp wit. I personally wouldn't describe anybody as small, you know, because, well, certainly not because of their stature, maybe more by their mental state. I might make statements like that. But I think there's far more to height than inches, and Titch certainly proves that.
You've been nice to me, sweetheart.
Aye, well, doing my best. So, he's been delighting folk. You all know he's been delighting folk all over the world for years and years. I could go on all day. He's got all sorts of songs. He can do what he likes with Burns. He can juggle it about, and very versatile entertainer. Worked with all the legends, and I'm awfully glad to see he's here tonight. And it's just one of these things that, for an immortal memory, you've got to pick somebody that can do it. And I think we've got a bumper tonight. So, to give us the immortal memory, let's hear it please for Titch Freer.
Thank you, Ron. What a wonderful introduction. Immortal Robert Burns of Ayr, there's but few poets with you can compare. Some of your poems and songs are very fine, to Marian heaven is most sublime. And then again in your Cotter Saturday night, your genius there does shine most bright, as pure as the dewdrops of the night. Your Tam O'Shanter is very fine, both funny, racy and divine. From John O'Groats to Dumfries, all critics consider it to be a masterpiece, and also you have said the same, therefore they are not to blame. And in my own opinion, both you and they are right, for your genius there does sparkle bright, which I most solemnly do declare to thee, immortal bard of Ayr. Your banks and braes of bonny Doon is sweet and melodious in its tune, and the poetry is moral and sublime, and in my opinion nothing can be more fine. Your Scots wha hae wi' Wallace bled is most beautiful to hear, sung or read, for your genius there does shine as bright like unto the stars of night. Immortal bard of Ayr, I must conclude my muse, to speak in praise of thee does not refuse, for you were a mighty poet, few could with you compare, and also an honour to Scotland, for your genius it is rare. What finer way to open this memory than with a tribute to Robert Burns from a fellow poet and tragedian? These lines were written by the Edinburgh wordsmith William Topaz McGonagall. Did you guess? Now, although, of course, Edinburgh has been trying to palm McGonagall off onto Dundee for years. My name is Titch Freer, of course. I am from Edinburgh, although Edinburgh has successfully managed to palm me off onto Kinross for the last 30 years. I am a legend on the Scottish traditional music scene for all the wrong reasons. I am fortunate to be here tonight. I actually turned down an invitation to speak at the Schenectady Burns Club in the United States of America. However, I have a new policy, which is I will not perform anywhere where the population is more heavily armed than the forces of law and order. So that's America out, and Glasgow. Now, tonight we continue a tradition begun on the 21st of July 1801, when the first ever Burns supper took place at Burns Cottage in Alloway and was arranged to commemorate the anniversary of his death. Those friends of Burns who attended couldn't have had any idea what they were unleashing upon the world. As a result of that modest gathering, more than 2 centuries later, countless Burns suppers cheerfully mangle the words of Auld Lang Syne in more than 200 countries. Just 5 years after Burns' death in 1796, the 8-man gathering convened in the cottage under the chairmanship of the Reverend Hamilton Paul. They toasted the memory of the late poet and dined on sheep's head and haggis after addressing it in the Burns' already popular words. You are spared the sheep's head for this evening, ladies and gentlemen. The minutes of the meeting, written by the Reverend Paul himself, record that in the summer of 1801, a select party of friends of Burns proposed to dine in the cottage in which he was born and offer a tribute to the memory of the departed genius. That then was the first ever Burns supper, despite the claims of Greenock Burns Club, which held theirs a year later on the 29th of January, erroneously believing that to be the bard's birthday. Immortal memory of Robert Burns. Give me a spark of nature's fire. That's all the learning I desire, and though I drudge through dub and mire at Pleugh or Kert, my muse, though hamely in attire, may touch the heart. These lines from the epistle to John Laprake tell us as much as we need to know about what fired Robert Burns to write the matchless poetry and song renowned throughout the world. They don't tell us why in 1860 the great John Muir, father of the National Parks movement, took on his momentous 1,000-mile trek through the wilds of North America only 4 books: a guide to botany, a journal to record what he found on his walk, a copy of the New Testament, for he was a religious man, and of course the poems of Robert Burns to sustain his spirit. They don't tell us why we gather here, as millions have done over the last few weeks, to celebrate the 262nd anniversary of his birth. Now, in order to keep this toast short, I'm about to give you just 3 reasons why we're here tonight. First one, he was the best. Burns wrote more than 360 songs, over 600 poems, all of which the Act calls of merchantable quality, nay, rubbish. In my opinion, he's the finest songsmith ever to walk the earth. Sometimes when I make that statement, some people challenge me by asking how I can compare him with modern songwriters like Sir Elton John or Sir Paul McCartney. Well, Burns had a short writing span of only about 20-25 years, consistently produced superb work from the age of 15. Both Elton and Paul have been writing for more than 50 years. I still contend that had Burns been writing for 100 years, he would never have produced pish like Mulligan Tyre. Second reason, his humanity. His love of his fellow man and woman, of course, shines through his work like a beacon. Reading his poetry and letters would easily convince anyone that here's a guy who would give you the shirt off his back if you were in trouble. Of course, he had his frailties. His inability to keep his trousers up resulted in as many illegitimate children as those he had within wedlock, but generally he did his best to look after them all. His love of strong drink is noted in his own words, and yet his brother Gilbert denies that Robert was a drunkard in a letter to Mrs. Dunlop in 1784. That's a hell of a time signature. In Irvine, he had contracted some acquaintance of a freer manner of thinking and living than he had been used to. Those of you who are familiar with Irvine will know what I'm talking about here. Whose society prepared him for overleaping the bounds of rigid virtue which had hitherto restrained him. Yet, notwithstanding these circumstances, and the praise he has bestowed on Scotch drink, which seems to have misled historians, I do not recollect during these 7 years, nor towards the end of his commencing author, which his growing celebrity occasioned his being often in company, to have ever seen him intoxicated, nor was he at all given to drinking. A stronger proof of his conduct need not be required. The case for his alcohol intake is obviously overstated. And any person who can write the lines, then let us pray that come it may, as come it will for all that sense and worth our all the earth shall bear the gree and all that. That means to take the honour, to have the prize. For all that and all that it's coming yet, for all that man to man the world o'er shall brothers be, for all that is indeed an international humanitarian, and we should be proud that he is a Scot. Reason number 3 is what I would call the James Dean effect. How do we picture Robert Burns in our mind's eye? Not an old man huddled over a desk, but the young, handsome, cherry-cheeked loon with a twinkle in his eye. The Burns of the portraits in the National Gallery. The same way that we picture 20th century icons like Marilyn Monroe, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, or James Dean. They will all be remembered in the prime of their lives, just like Burns. And that is a powerful and immortal image. These are the reasons that we return to this celebration year on year, and the reasons why, at this time, the world will raise its glass with us to the immortal memory of Robert Burns. Robert Burns.
Robert Burns.
Robert Burns.
Clap.
Well, thanks, Titch.
Yeah, well played, Titch. Well done.
There we are. Now we're getting to a song.
So I'll just go into the song, Ron.
Aye, spot on. I'm just saying thanks for the immortal memory. I'd like to get your breath back.
Oh no, I didn't use breath.
Oh well, carry on.
Okay, so this is a song which is the closing song of Burns' cantata, The Jolly Beggars. It's called, generally called A Fig for Those by Law Protected. In the book, it's usually known as the Quodlibet. I had a bit of a search around to try and get some sort of meaning for the word Quodlibet from my friends who are Latin scholars, and the best one that they could come up with was Quodlibet actually is Latin for what are you drinking? Quodlibet. And as soon as it's set to a tune called Jolly Mortals Fill Your Glasses, that would appear to fit the bill. See the smoking bowl before us, mark of jovial ragged ring. Run and run, take up the chorus, and in raptures let us sing. A fig for those by law protected liberties, a glorious feast. Courts for cowards were erected, churches built to please the priest. What is title, what is treasure, what is reputation's care? If we lead a life of pleasure, there's no matter how or where. A fig for those by law protected, liberty's a glorious feast. Courts for cowards were erected, churches built to please the priest. With a ready trick and fable in the country all the day, and at Knecht in barn or stable, a good doxy's in the hay. A fig for those by law protected, liberty's a glorious feast. Courts for cowards were erected, churches built to please the priest. Does the train attended carriage through the country lights a rove? Does the sober bed of marriage witness greater scenes of love? Life is a variorum, we regard now how it goes. Let them cant a good decorum who have character to lose. A fig for those by law protected, liberty's a glorious feast. Courts for cowards were erected, churches built to please the priest. Here's to budgets, bags and wallets, here's to all the wandering train. Here's the ragged brats and callets, yen and all crying, amen. A fig for those by law protected, liberty's a glorious feast. Courts for cowards were erected, churches built to please the priest. A fig for those by law protected, liberty's a glorious feast. Courts for cowards were erected, churches built to please the priest.
Yeah.
Good job.
There you go.
Titch, that was something I haven't heard for a long, long time. But we're now heading towards time for a wee break to go and replenish your glasses or make a cup of tea or whatever you want.
Empty your bladder.
Well, I was
whatever.
going to be nice and not say that.
Whatever.
Ron will go to empty his bladder while
No.
we're having it. Bet you do.
No, I won't.
So we'll be back here about 5 to 9.
Maybe you should sing before you do it.
Okay, so that's us off for a wee break. See you in 5 minutes.
And you can all have a wee blether if you want.
That's it. There's no reason to worry about blethering.
Right.
It's quite difficult to blether, Dick, when we've got this big window if you speak. You know, 'cause you can't see everybody else.
But you can put your when we stop the spotlight, you can put your screen onto gallery and you'll see the whole thing.
Ah.
And don't forget, we're still recording this, so I'll actually stop the stream now, so it won't be on YouTube for the blether. Okay.
Thank you.
Very